අරගම තමයි සර් මේ ID එක 925යි 925යි 11යි ID එක සර් 925යි 0511 50යි 17. ඔව් තව එකක් කියනවා. 17. අන්තිමට 50යි 17. ඔව්. පාස්කෝඩ් එක 10යි 65යි 71. 65යි 71.
We are going to start this the second slot of this 1.1 session. Professor Allen, can you hear us? Voice. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear your voice. We cannot unmute. Professor Allen? Could you unmute your microphone? I think there's a certain technical issues in your side. Professor, we can't hear you. Yeah. So how can he comment and all?
Try this. Any good? Hello, hello.
Great, you can hear you, Prof. Allen.
Ah, you can hear me now. Ah, great, good. Must be a problem with my earphones.
Professor Allen?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We have a few minutes delay in this session. Anyhow, we corrected all technical issues and now we are ready for this session.
Good.
Right?
Apologies for my late arrival. I clicked on the link in my program, but it was the wrong link.
Yeah. This is, I think everything is okay now. Let's start this session. Professor, I think, okay, please, other slide, please. Okay, Professor, it's your, I hand over to Professor.
Hello, yes.
Okay, I think you all have, I think you have all the instructions and all thing with you now. The first.
Hello.
Slide share කරන්න.
Excuse me, what time are we start?
Right. Okay. In these sessions, we have six presentations, and the first one is number 38. The best practice for poverty elevation through a case study from OUC.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to this very much on behalf of the panel.
Hello, dear Professor Alan. Nice to see you on this virtual conference. I'm going to clarify the first question. Are you going to click the video for us, or shall we use this? Who's going to present our video?
Actually, we don't have your video with us now. Could you please play your own video, or you can present from your side? Because for the time being, we don't have any video with us.
Please excuse us for a few seconds. We are going to share.
Sure. You can share with you from your side.
Okay, I can't hear anything.
Professor, we have to wait another few minutes because the first presenters, they request few minutes to prepare their slides and all.
Hello, Mr. Chair. There is a technical problem here with us.
Okay.
Did you see the video, the screen sharing? You know, we are not allowed to share our video on this screen because
please allow share them the video.
Yes.
Now you can have the share permission now. Please share with us.
Thank you. Yes.
Dear friends, it's my pleasure to introduce our research. The title is best practice of poverty alleviation by OTE. A case that is from the Olympics.
Yeah, we don't see a video at the moment.
Yeah, we cannot see the video. We just hear sound.
Can you see the video?
No.
Oh.
Ah. Now we have a slide.
One more minute. It is loading.
Okay, great.
能不能回到前头去？回到前头，让那个丹丹出现，然后就可以了。
你看停止了，然后再是
停不了。视频真的太多了。
那个视频也是你在说吧，丹丹？不然你念一下吧，把你这个东西念一下吧。Excuse me, Mr. Chair
Yes.
and Professor Allen, because I don't think we can share our video successfully. I think still there is a technical problem. May I suggest that my colleague to present our paper by delivering a speech? Is that acceptable?
That would be one way forward. The other way forward will be to give you time to put you later in the process this morning and to give you time to solve the technical problem. Which would you prefer?
Yes. So that means we stop here, and once we settle down the technical problem, we'll come back again.
Yes. Is that agreeable to the organizers of the conference?
Okay, so let's go like that.
So should we go? Okay, so we'll come back to you, OU China. We'll come back to you.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll come back later. Thank you.
Okay, so let's try. Are we going to go to paper 48?
我把这个静音静了，静了音，静音呢
？48。
把这个静音视频都关掉，然后我们重新共享。共享了以后，等我们共享好了，关掉视频。关掉停止视频，不要让他们看到我们。把声音和视频都关掉。
Go, Shakaran.
Hello and welcome to our presentation on micro-learning. My colleague, Dr. Uy, and I feel very honoured for this opportunity to take part in this year's Asian Association of Open Universities conference. Microlearning is about design principles we can use to reduce the volume in learning materials to improve the learning experience for students. It is about making study and the study of subjects more attractive and more interesting by making learning resources less daunting. It is based on this less is more principle and reducing unnecessary cognitive load and stress, which in the literature shows up as being a major barrier to effective learning and motivation to engage. In itself, a major challenge and one that microlearning seeks to address. So in reducing in this way, the benefit is it makes it more attractive to students, less daunting to students, and it enables us to focus on the most vital and important concepts and skills. A good way to start with microlearning is to start reviewing content. Now, what I don't want to do is scare people off and think, oh my goodness, the university or Chris Cosson or other people are going to perhaps start telling me what to do with my course. So I want to dispel that kind of thinking as much as possible and present it more in terms of, okay, it's a less is more philosophy. How could I use that to make my courses even more engaging to students? I'll review the content. Now, for example, I have shorter lecture notes or study notes or modules. Another good place to go is set readings for students. So I use fewer readings. One needs to ask oneself questions like, just how important is this reading? And then make a decision, do I keep it or do I pull it out of the course? It makes sense, does it not? If students have one, perhaps two readings a week set for them, rather than say, let's bring it right up and say 5 or 6 readings, which you see in some courses, a student will be much more likely to read 1 or 2 readings. If you have 5, they probably won't read the first one. One of the things I have done is I've looked at readings and I thought, well, I really only need to use about 20% of this reading, but I've got the whole chapter in there. Why not take the pages out? Yes, it's easier to upload the chapter and so on, or often it is, but you know, for not that much more work, you can reduce by doing that. You could also make decisions like, well, there's only really 1 or 2 important pages in the reading. Could I keep it as a very short reading? Could I cite it in the study material and not have it as a separate thing? Application of this reducing. Select and retain content based on these kinds of considerations. Core graduate and course learning objectives, soft and hard skills, weight and importance given to the soft skills, which is the second one, is getting more attention, more weighting applied to it. Recent literature, as in 2020, global employer surveys across all disciplines, the softer skills are becoming more important for employers. Usefulness to students for producing quality assignments and assessments. A point like that sometimes draws a criticism. People say, are you just teaching people how to do their assignments? Why is that important? Come on, assignments are very important. They are the measure we use for student performance. They're our professional preparation. And then we also need to link and select based on value and practicality of content for future employment and work performance. So when we're looking to reduce, these are some principles that can help guide us. Now we'll look at a little bit more detail of Trial 1, use and application of micro-learning. Short, bite-sized micro lectures, 1 to 3, which could be as short as 5 minutes. This idea of chopping down your lectures. Now, you can take a 40-minute lecture and you can chop it into 3 bits. That's one way of achieving it, okay? Another really important element is short videos, lecturer presence. People want to be able to see the lecturer. Every week I have a 1 to 2 minute introduction to the week, to the module. Now, I'll tell you, making a 1 to 2 minute or a 90-second video is pretty darn easy. You get used to it pretty quickly. And if you compare it to, okay, I'll do a 5-minute video, there's a lot more work, a lot more thought needs to go into what you're going to say, how you're going to sequence it, and so on. Methods and techniques. Well, I've been using voiceover PowerPoints. A lot of lectures are recorded on campus or online, and you can take those and edit those. Okay, engagement using variety and novelty. Guest presenters. One thing I found that works really well, or can work really well, it's worth considering, is getting a colleague to come along to one of your classes. In my situation, it's typically Zoom. And say to the colleague, well, look, it's my course, I'm running it and so on, but gee, I'd appreciate it if we're talking about this, here are the slides and what have you, have a look at those. It'd be good if you came along and joined in, talk to the students as well and spark a few ideas and have and anything that you'd like to suggest that we could do. Now, the first reaction to that might be, well, gee, I'm pretty busy teaching my own courses. Or should I go and help you do your job? So I do this with payback the help principles. And, if they join your class for perhaps the whole thing, but perhaps as little as 20 minutes, they can really, in terms of variety and novelty, they can inject some energy and new perspective into it and energize the class. And then if you can go and spare 20 minutes or maybe an hour sometimes and do the same thing back, in the end, you haven't lost that much. And it is the course lecturer who is the responsible person. The other person's an invited guest. They're not expected to carry the load, so to speak. This quantitative data on my use of micro-learning at USQ is showing fairly remarkable results so far, including a satisfaction score of 4.8 out of 5. Students are very generous when they're pleased. They commonly say things like, "The lecturer was great, I really enjoyed the subject. What a great feeling that we've been successful in helping them be successful." I'm very pleased indeed with these quantitative and qualitative results. And especially pleased to say that the success I've had with micro-learning led to my winning of several 2020 teaching awards, including a university award for excellence in teaching. I realised pretty quickly when I came across micro-learning that it really is a very good teaching methodology. And so I encourage you to think about it.
Hi everyone, now we are at Trial 2, which will be conducted in Wawasan Open University, AAOU in Malaysia. Trial 2 is actually in progress and it's ongoing from the May 2021 semester. So the goal here is to learn, adapt, and apply the micro-learning design principles in an ODL setting. So here, what we're doing is we'll be redesigning the content presentation of the selected first year general studies course. which is MPU 3333 Human Rights. There are 3 stages involved in Trial 2, where in Stage 1, the review of content, what will be done is to summarize the content and then create animation videos to explain those summaries. This will be more attractive to students because the content is summarized into video form instead of high reading volume of the course materials. So the content will also be reviewed to apply the microlearning design of using voice-over PowerPoint presentations as a mini lecture and also short podcasts. In Stage 2, this is where the videos will be produced and uploaded. A welcome video, assessment guides videos by the lecturer, and also the animation videos will be completed at this stage. Finally, in Stage 3 is where we'll be collecting feedback using a mixed mode methodology of surveys and group interviews. The samplings will be from all 5 regional centers in Malaysia. Microlearning as a delivery format is also well suited with the way the average modern learner functions in his or her daily life, such as using their smartphones. Generally, the design of microlearning bite-sized short video content is befitting the short attention span of modern learners. Therefore, when bite-sized learning video content is easily and readily accessible, learners can manage at their own pace, wherever they are, and most importantly, when they are ready to learn. In conclusion, microlearning is focused, bite-sized content, so learners are not overwhelmed with information overload. Microlearning will be a necessity in new teaching and learning pedagogies, where in a world of post-COVID-19, online teaching and learning with one method such as microlearning would be the most probable way higher education is headed. Thank you very much for your time and support to attend this presentation. Thank you.
Okay. So I think we should now have some questions for our presenters from Southern Queensland and Wawasan. Are my other 2 judges present? Can they hear me? And do they have any questions?
Hello.
Hello, is that Dr. Cosson? I think I can hear your voice.
I think that might have been the recording started up again for a moment. But yeah,
Okay.
but here I am. I'm very pleased to be here and nice to meet you all. Thank you, Alan.
Good. Thank you. Is your colleague from Wawasan with you also, Chris?
Microlearning is about design principles we
I'll just
can
see if
use
this is
to
me.
reduce the volume in learning materials to improve
We're
the learning
listening to it all again
experience
somehow.
for students.
Yeah, I'm here. Dr.
It is
Ung here from
about
Wawasan
making
Open
the
University.
study and the study
Good. Good
subject
to see you
Hi.
both.
more attractive
hello.
and more
Hi.
interesting.
Right. Could somebody
by
turn the
making
the presentation
courses
off? Because we're listening
less
to it a second
daunting.
time. Great. So let me see if my fellow judges have any questions for our 2 presenters. Dr. Youssef, I see you
Is
are.
based on this less is more principle.
goodness.
Where?
So, Dr. Youssef, I see you are present. Do you
Way
have
to
any questions
start
for our?
with microlearning is to,
Yes,
is
do
to
you hear
start
me?
reviewing content.
Hello,
Now,
do you hear me?
what I don't want to do is scare
Yeah.
people off.
Can somebody
and think,
turn that
"Oh,
presentation off? Dr. Youssef, the floor is yours.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I would like to thank the presenter for their work. Really, it's very great and fruitful presentation. Mainly,
Thank
I
you.
to ask about in general. We know that micro learning is a short courses focus on learning nuggets, usually within 5 to 7 to 9 minutes. Okay, and mainly this is designed for specific mainly for training staff in a company, in a university, to teach them something special to help them to gain more skillful in their work. So my question is, I mean, that mostly used in informal learning. So can we use microlearning for all kinds of courses at university?
Well, I believe so. And student engagement is a challenge. We all face. And I mean, my institution, like a lot of institutions now, most of the learning occurs online. And so uploading presentations or making presentations, or alternatively, taking a presentation, if it's a long recording, and quickly editing it down into little bits. It's a strategy for getting students interested and making it more attractive. So when they go onto the study page, the course page, they can see, oh, lecture 1.1, 8.5 minutes, that kind of thing. And the idea of that is that the strategy is that the student will hopefully see that, or students will see that and think, oh, I've got time, I can fit that in. And I'll just quickly say that I don't like strict rules around it. I think going for short is generally the best. But if a topic is really interesting and engaging and not heavy with cognitive load for understanding, then there's no reason why something couldn't go for 20 minutes or longer. So the flexibility, I suppose, is at that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you. Is my other judge present, Dr. No, just Dr. Joseph and myself. Okay, I have one question. Perhaps I could direct this question to Dr. Chia-Yi Hui. Are there any differences in the student feedback between Malaysia and Australia?
Actually, Prof, right now the trial 2 is still ongoing, so we do have to wait for the results. But I think the differences would be like for WOU were mostly they are part-timers and they're online distance learning and all that. So they're actually working and studying at the same time. So as you can see in the first trial and the trial 2, we do not go for weekly, because in WOU we go for 1 month we have 1 tutorial, second month we have the second tutorial and all that. So there is a bit of a difference. So we couldn't, this is like a knowledge transference, but then I have to apply it to the ODL setting. So not on like mostly on the face-to-face, like on campus setting.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your helpful response. So I'm going to conclude the paper 48 presentation and discussion now. I'd like to thank our two presenters very much indeed for this valuable work, and I hope listeners have been able to enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've had a message from the authors of paper 38 from OU China to say they are ready. Can I just check whether that is the case, and if so, would they like to make their presentation now? Is that acceptable to the conference organizers?
Yes, sir.
Hi.
Okay,
Hi.
so
Sorry.
Please go ahead.
Go ahead. This is the presenter from the Open University of China. We are ready. So can we make our presentation now, Mr. Chair and Professor Alan Tate?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. 来，再点吧。We are not allowed to share our video on the screen still. Please give us.
You need permission.
Yes. Mr. Chair, can we have the permission to share our video on the screen?
We need our conference host to do that. Can they do that, please?
Yeah, we have already given the permission. Please check it again.
Chairman, dear fans, it's my pleasure to introduce our research. The title is best practice of poverty alleviation by ODE, a case study from the OUC. Let me start with an example. Yang Changtai, a student who has benefited from the OUC's poverty alleviation program. He went to work in cities a few years ago, but
Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but we cannot see a video.
Can you hear the video?
No, we cannot see
We
the
can
video.
hear it. I can hear it, but I cannot see a video.
听见声儿，看不见影。
Got it.
Screen sharing. At last.
He returned to his village later on. Then he started to plant seedling without relevant knowledge and skills. No doubt, for the sake of lacking of related experience and knowing very little about the market, he lost all his savings and owed 80,000 RMB after over 2 years hard working. In order to overcome the hardship of life, as a poorest member who needed help, Yang participated in the learning with the OUC, and then he got his diploma on facility agriculture technology. He said that this diploma program includes both agriculture production, such as seedling planting and marketing and e-commerce training. It is a very practical program. Under the instruction of his tutor, Yang planted small seedlings which were easy to grow, convenient to take care of, and cost-effective, instead of big seedlings which cost a lot of money. Only half of a year, Yang had earned more than 100,000 RMB. He not only paid the debt, but also became rich himself with extra money. I am a peasant without much knowledge. However, with the support from the government and OUC, I have transformed my life with knowledge, which empowers me to be a modern peasant, Yang said. From 2017 to 2020, the OUC had carried out poverty alleviation through ODE to 25 poverty-stricken counties, and its learning centers there in 12 provinces in central and western parts of China. First, the key question: how to cultivate talents for rural areas through ICT is the key question of this paper. Second, research target. The research target is the 25 poverty counties and the OUC's learning centers there. Through our research, we found that the 25 counties are relatively far away and secluded. The level of social and economic development is lower. In addition, the ODE development in the learning centers of the 25 counties needs to be further improved. This is the reason we chose the 25 counties as the targets of poverty alleviation. Third, poverty alleviation measures. In accordance with the principle of one county, one policy, we work out the implementation plans for each county and are summarized as follows. Number 1, to train cadres and people who can help others make a better living in villages of the 25 counties with no charge. Number 2, to find people who are not able to self-finance and have no access to education to study in the OUC and obtain a diploma. Number 3, to organize vocational and technical training programs for peasant workers, K-12 teachers for free. Number 4, to offer scholarship and financial aid for students at the learning centers. Number 5, to set up cloud-based classrooms, computer clusters, physical bookstores, to provide high-quality digital learning resources for free. By the end of December 2020, the total amount of 58 million RMB has been invested to the 25 counties, and 46,000 members have been directly benefited. Finally, outcomes. The educational ability and the level of the local learning centers have been improved. The offline teaching infrastructure has been improved, and the effective implementation of online teaching has been assured. The combination of online degree continuing education and practical technical training have been improved, and local talents have been cultivated through the combination of learning and application. In order to stimulate students' learning initiative and reduce the burden of tuition fees, we provide students with scholarship and financial aid for poverty alleviation projects. In short, through the assistance of ODE, we have made precise policies according to the needs of different regions and different groups of people, and cultivated practical talents who can stay and use for remote areas. Thank you.
Hello, Chair and Professor Alan Tate. We have already
Thank you very
completed.
much.
Yeah, we have completed our video sharing.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for that presentation. And congratulations on your resilience in managing the technical problems. Let me invite my fellow judges to see if they have any questions for the presenters from OU China.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Mainly, it's a general question. Mainly, I would like to know more about how much you have benefited from your courses for the people in the 25th century. I mean, usually poverty and gender inequality are two serious problems in most countries. And at the same time, I think we know that we have some problems related to access to the internet, technology, economic conditions. So these factors, I think, facing those people in the area or the countries. How do you think that open distance learning or education will help poverty alleviation, and to what degree, with and without your recommendations? I see in the last slides, you present some recommendation to solve the problem and to help the elevation of poverty. Please.
Hi, Alan, I need your help. Would you please clarify the questions or suggestions from this gentleman, please?
Okay. Would you like to post that question for you on the text chat so you can read it?
That would be helpful, Dr. Youssef. Yes, please do that.
Yeah, please. Okay, I know the dialect is different from people to people. We are not English native speaker. So
Right.
I posted in the chat. So
okay.
You have some.
While you're doing that, Dr. Youssef, I will ask a question while you are doing that. So we will wait. In the meantime, I will ask my question, if I may, to our colleagues from OU China. Can I ask about the ways in which you needed to help the local people in these 25 counties with online learning? I imagine it was quite difficult for them to engage with the new practices of online learning. How did you help them do that?
Yeah, let me clarify. Let me answer you these questions. Yes, it is very difficult for people living in rural and remote areas to get access to higher education. So this is, I think this is a common question facing both to China and the international arena. For people in far and remote areas, the first thing the OUC has been engaging is that we invest money. We invest quite a lot of money to improve the infrastructures in those learning centers, in the OUC's learning centers located in these 25 poverty-stricken areas. Did I make myself clear?
Yes. So there was a major financial.
Yeah. So the first measure is to improve the local infrastructures. For example, we invest money to set up a library. We invest money to build computer clusters for local people to get access to online learning resources. So this is the fundamental measures we have taken to improve local educational conditions. So this is one thing. And the other thing is that we train teachers in the headquarters so that teachers can deliver educations or deliver what they needed to local people. For example, those local people, they are living close to, living in mountain areas. So they make a living using local nature or local natural conditions. For example, they raise husbandry, or they make a living using growing forestry, something like that. So we particularly implemented those kind of programs, and we train we train academic staff who can deliver such kind of programs. By this way, we help local people to master their skills so that they can make a living by staying locally. So this is the second measure. I think these are the two main methods we have taken for now to help local people to local people, when they learn with the OUC, they get knowledge, they get their skill, and many of them have started their own business. On the one way, when they become the businessman locally, they can hire local villagers to help with them or to work with them. So when one student gets rich, and he or she can help other local villagers make a better living than before. So by this way, we say we can help. We can help poverty alleviation through ODE. So this is our main tasks during the past few years.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very helpful indeed. I think you have very fully answered Professor Youssef's question also. I hope, Professor Youssef, you agree. And also,
Yeah.
in the interests of time management, as chair, I would like us to move on. So thank you very much indeed to our colleagues from Open University China for that presentation about an absolutely fascinating as well as very important project that you have been running. Thank you. So we will now move. Thank you. We will now move to our next paper, which is paper 143, I think. So I'm speaking now to the conference organizers. I think we are expecting from OU Sri Lanka, paper 143.
If we teach today as we taught yesterday, we robbed our children of their tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, on the preamble said by these words of the great philosopher John Dewey, it is my great pleasure to present our work on the development and application of a virtual chemistry lab space for teaching practical chemistry during the COVID-19 pandemic. Technology plays a pivotal role in distance education, while it is considered not as an option but as a defining characteristic of the system. However, often the incorporation of technology in education indicate notable limitations due to the lack of infrastructure, lack of technical competence, or even the lack of motivation. Nevertheless, during the recent halt in academic activities that took place globally as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, academics were warranted to relook at how technology can be used in education, specifically for areas where online delivery is seldom practiced. Hence, it is an immediate necessity to understand the learner perception and any potential limitations such that technology would allow the effective dissemination of knowledge. CYU 3302 Basic Practical Chemistry is a 3-credit course offered for freshman learners at the Open University of Sri Lanka. A laboratory-based practical component which provides hands-on exposure on experimentation is considered essential in chemistry curricula at undergraduate level. Hence, this course is mainly facilitated via activities conducted in the laboratory. However, due to the recent cessation of academic activities, course delivery was completely halted as minimal alternatives could be adopted to continue course delivery. Nevertheless, with the advancement of technology, there are many software, animations, and virtual and augmented reality simulations that allow users to receive a virtual experience without any physical presence. Hence, here, a resource named as the Virtual Chemistry Lab Space, or VCLS, was developed using open educational resources that have been specifically designed to provide a virtual experience in preparing, performing, and analyzing chemical laboratory activities via computer simulations. On the hypothesis that the VCLS would be a viable online delivery approach for practical chemistry for periods where conventional delivery could not be practiced, it was administered among learners enrolled in the course via the university learner management system. And to evaluate the hypothesis, a survey was conducted via a feedback questionnaire specifically designed to anonymously evaluate the background and inclination to use technology in education, the use during the pandemic, and the accessibility and perception on the VCLS. Eventually, the feedback collected from 208 learners enrolled in the course was analyzed to arrive at appropriate conclusions regarding the adoptability of the VCLS. Moving to the results, let us first look at the distribution of the learners based on their background. As can be seen, both gender and age composition of the learners included in the study showed the typical composition seen under academic settings. As for employment status, a significant proportion of 68% of learners were employed, while only 16% were full-time learners. Once again, the typical levels seen in an OUSL classroom, which indicates the ability to generalize the results obtained here. Further, a significant majority indicated that they were familiar with the VCLS, which implies the inclination of the learners towards the use of technology in education. However, only 41% of the learners found out about the VCLS by seeing the message sent regarding the resource, while 22% of the learners found out about it through colleagues. To further understand the inclination of the learners to use technology in education, feedback was sought as to which activities the learners use in support of their academic work. As expected, Majority were aware of mundane activities such as browsing the internet for subject-related material, using software and mobile applications, and using audio-visual resources. However, most learners were unaware of using advanced features such as interactive simulations or more extraordinary activities such as developing their own programs for academic activities, indicating the novelty of adopting the VCLS as a tool for online course delivery. Next, feedback was gathered regarding the use of the VCLS during the pandemic lockdown. As seen, although a significant proportion of 69% indicated that they had used the VCLS during the pandemic, 30% indicated that they did not use it at all. This, however, was anticipated as the use of the VCLS was not made compulsory. However, further analysis shows that there is no apparent correlation between the use of the VCLS based on gender or age group, which indicates that the background has no clear impact on one's tendency to use the resource. Although it was anticipated that there would be some correlation between the employment status and the use of VCLS, such correlation again was absent. This is likely a result of the lockdown, which enabled learners from all employment levels to have access to this virtual resource due to the limited professional activities that took place during the pandemic. Hence, the findings suggest that the VCLS would allow equal access to learners of all backgrounds during a lockdown, indicating its potential use as an effective alternative teaching methodology. On the feedback regarding the interest of learners for engaging in the VCLS, 51% indicated that they were interested in using the VCLS, while 14% indicated that they would have used the VCLS if they had known about it during the pandemic. Collectively, this could be regarded as an overall positive response on the use of technology to facilitate learning. The VCLS was composed of 3 sections: PhET interactive simulations, basic laboratory operations, and virtual laboratory simulations. Resources in each section were carefully selected to provide an understanding on the activities typically conducted in the lab. Here, majority indicated that they have used basic laboratory operations and virtual laboratory simulations at least once. Notably, sizable proportions of learners indicated that using the components on basic laboratory operations and virtual laboratory simulations was very helpful in understanding the course content. To further understand the perception of learners, opinion of learners was gathered on using the VCLS to facilitate learning during the pandemic and the likeliness of using the VCLS in future. Here, a significant majority of 70% indicated that the VCLS was helpful to understand the course content, while 82% indicated that they are likely to use it in future. Hence, this result reinstates the overall positive attitude of the learners in adopting to novel teaching methodologies. On the accessibility of the VCLS, 69% indicated that they use smartphones and relatively less had access to a laptop, desktop, tablet, computer, while only 4% of the learners indicated that they did not have access to any device. This suggests that the use of technological tools is a viable alternative, given that majority of learners have access to devices to be used for such purposes. Further, this emphasizes the need to develop applications or programs that are compatible with mobile devices, given that large numbers would prefer to use the resources on such platforms. From the feedback on the limitations of the VCLS, lack of time, internet access, and difference between working in a real lab and virtual simulations were identified as prominent. Hence, the findings collectively emphasize the need to carefully manage the resources based on intensity of internet use, while accommodating supplementary in-person sessions to provide the physical interactions and designing online activities such that they would not require longer durations, thus being a burden specifically for employed learners. Nevertheless, opinion of the learners on replacing part of the laboratory work associated with the course by online activities using the VCLS in future was positive, where a significant proportion indicated that this would be a good idea. Finally, the learner perception on the effect of using the VCLS for online delivery was sought. Clearly, a significant proportion of learners indicated that the flexibility to the learners, access to learning resources, and the use of technology in education will improve via the VCLS, while only a negligible proportion indicated pessimism on this respect. However, larger proportions of learners indicated that use of the VCLS would not improve the exposure to laboratory techniques and staff-student interactions, given the inherent lack of exposure and physical interactions that result via online delivery. Nevertheless, majority of the learners indicated that the VCLS was interesting and helpful for the course, and a significant proportion of learners was likely to recommend their colleagues to use the VCLS as an academic support tool, while only much lesser proportions indicated any hesitation. In summary, 76% of the respondents indicated familiarity with the VCLS, while 59% indicated that they were interested in engaging in it during the pandemic lockdown. A significant majority indicated that the resource was helpful to understand the course content during the pandemic period, while 82% indicated that they are likely to use it in future. Problems related to the VCLS were the lack of internet access, physical interactions, and time, which needs to be carefully taken into consideration if further use of the resource is advocated. However, the opinion on the VCLS, as well as on replacing part of the laboratory work associated with the course by the VCLS in future, was notably positive. Overall, majority of learners indicated that flexibility to the learners, access to learning resources, and use of technology in education, all of which are important determinants in effective dissemination of knowledge, specifically in open and distance learning, will improve due to the use of this novel tool, thus awarding notable credibility to the work presented here. These are our references, and I would like to thank all whose contributions were immensely important in making this study possible. Thank you very much, and I wish everyone a very productive conference.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed for your presentation, which most interesting, and dealing with problems with which I think many of us are familiar around the world. Prof. Yusuf, a question from you? Is Prof. Yusuf there? A question from you, Prof.
Now, do you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. Right.
That's perfect. It was off the mic. Yeah, in mute. And mainly, I would like to thank the presenter for their presentation, and the virtual labs now is very important, and most people now running to employ these in their teaching. In your research, you adapt virtual simulation. I think you don't implement the actual experiment or the labs. You use it from other university. Mainly, do you think that VLS is effective for teaching based on cost, effort, time, and technical issue, accessibility, if you implement it by yourself, by your university, I think. So virtual laboratories like the use of, as you mentioned, the physical instrument, the actual instrument. So how we can help our students overcome these problems, I mean, interaction with the physical instrument that actually in the labs. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, Professor Yusuf. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So Professor Yusuf, to answer your question, personally, I believe that this is something that cannot completely go online, because chemistry, especially experimentation, is something that's very, very practical. So without the hands-on experience, without the exposure to the techniques and the laboratory apparatus, one may not get the essence into their head. So therefore, I personally don't believe that we can completely go online with practical chemistry. However, given the limitations that we are facing right now, this has been the perfect alternative, because the time was the limiting factor. We were challenged to finish off the work within a very short duration. So the time that the students could spend in the lab was very, very limited. However, given that the students engaged in some virtual activities before coming into the lab physically, they knew what to do. So they were able to get into the activity and complete it in a shorter duration. So therefore, I believe that this has helped us to deliver the content, as well as the students to gather what they need to understand during the physical practical sessions easier. So therefore, like I said, I personally don't believe that we can completely go online with something like practical chemistry. However, this has helped us quite a bit during the pandemic shutdown. And I believe that things of this nature should continue so that the distant learning will be benefited. Does that answer your question, Professor Yusuf?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, it's clear.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes left in our 5 minutes for Q&A. So could I just ask you to reply briefly, Dr. Wijanayake?
Yes, sir.
This was a response to the lockdown in the crisis of the pandemic. But what do you think might be the permanent outcomes of this innovation?
Well, a permanent outcome, I would say, would be a component for the laboratory course, whereas people will have to go through the virtual activities before the physical practicals are in place. So I believe that will definitely be helpful even in the absence of a pandemic lockdown. Because I mean, if the students come in with a prior knowledge of what is to be done, they should definitely be able to perform better. So I believe that that is the permanent solution or the permanent outcome of our study. A component of virtual chemistry coming as a part of this course. I hope that answers the question, Professor Allen.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. So let me thank you for your presentation. It's most interesting, and I think will be of interest to people all around the world and how we have had to deal with the pandemic.
Thank you very much, sir.
So may I now move us on to paper 144 from Open University of Malaysia.
Hello and good day. I am Nanda Kumar Subramaniam of Open University Malaysia. I will be presenting on Explorers, which is a context-aware intelligent adaptive learning system for online learning. Universities, including open universities, are using various innovative technology-enhanced instructional methods in order to bring learning closer to the learners. It is interesting to note that adaptive learning is the current trend in teaching and learning, including in the online learning environment. In fact, the global adaptive learning market size is projected to grow from 1.9 billion USD in 2020 to 5.3 billion USD by 2025. Adaptive learning is the delivery of custom learning experiences that address the unique needs of a learner through just-in-time feedback, pathways, and resources. Adaptive learning is typically delivered through the adaptive learning systems. However, the problem here is that all forms of learning, including adaptive learning, through the adaptive learning systems are very much connective-centric. In adaptive learning, especially those involve open and distance learners, the students are alone and they are often overwhelmed with anxieties. Thus, emotions are known to play a major role on their learning. In fact, the affective domain, which is influenced by emotion, is equally significant as the cognitive domain in any learning setup, including in adaptive learning. Thus, there is a need for us to develop an adaptive learning system which is more holistic that capture both the student's cognitive and affective or emotion dimensions during the learning. Thus, in order to address the issue, I have developed a context-aware adaptive learning system known as Explorers that can customize the students' learning according to their cognitive ability and emotional state. The slide shows the comparison of Explorers with other adaptive learning systems. The Explorers is unique as it supports emotional modeling, it provides cognitive support via multimodal contents including gamification, it has built-in analytics for the instructor. Explorers that I have designed is for the object-oriented programming course. Explorers was designed by mixing the learner-centered learning design and technology in order to support one-to-one learning session. Basically, I have developed a set of 7 explorers to focus on learning object-oriented programming by emphasizing both the cognitive and affective domains. Each of these explorers has its own learning outcomes and concepts as highlighted on the slide. The navigational structure for some of the explorers are shown on the slide. Each of the explorers has its own adaptive and learning pages in order to guide the learners. One of the explorers is shown on the slide. As you could see, explorers incorporate various multimodal learning resources such as text-based, animated and immersive lesson pages, video-based lesson pages, assessment pages, WhatsApp links in the form of QR codes, and problem-solving activities. Now I will run through some of these resource pages. Shown on the slide is the text resource page available in Explorer. Shown on the slide is the immersive resource page available in Explorer to explain difficult concepts. Shown on the slide is the video resource page available in Explorer. Explorers also have highly engaging problem-solving activities that demands active participation from the learners, as shown on the slide. The slide shows how a problem-solving activity presented differently to the students in Explorer based on their performance. The Explorers also have WhatsApp links in the form of QR codes that enables a student to communicate with the lecturer and with their peers. This approach allows teacher presence and social presence in the individualized learning of the Explorers. Examples of assessment questions from Explorer are shown on the slide. All the 7 Explorers in combine are self-contained yet interconnected to each other that provides a massive adaptive learning experience to the learners. This is to ensure that the learners are able to establish the correct understanding of the past concepts and problems covered by the Explorers, and finally transfer the prior knowledge to the new problem in the subsequent Explorers. Explorers have its own algorithm in order to dynamically control the learning path of a learner. Shown on the slide is the adaptivity algorithm used in the Explorers. Students will be tested on the understanding of a sub-concept discussed in the Explorer before they can proceed to the next sub-concept. Based on the student's performance in the Explorer lessons, the dynamic path is built to lead him or her through the lesson's content according to his or her abilities and mood. Contents which discusses a sub-concept is presented first, and then the student's basic knowledge is evaluated with a basic question. Students will be presented with the remedial contents, an additional question or extension question based on their performance in the basic question. Besides the adaptivity control by the system, the learners also control their own learning in deciding their learning path in the Explorers, and this makes learning looks more natural. Besides determining the connective ability of the learner with regard to the subject matter, the Explorer, as mentioned earlier, is a context-aware adaptive learning system as it can both sense and react based on the student's emotion. Explorer captures the emotional state of the learner after the students complete the first Explorer. Explorer uses text-based sentiment analysis in order to capture the student's emotion. The sentiment analysis system for text analysis in Explorer uses a combination of machine learning and natural language processing powered by Google Cloud Machine Learning Suite. For those students having low scores on sentiment analysis, a different Explorer will be pushed to these students. In the adaptive learning environment, such as in Explorers, teachers often remain outside of this process and do not understand the learning problems that are in this learning environment. In order to address this shortcoming, Explorers are linked with both predictive and diagnostic intelligent analytics that enables the instructor to monitor the student's performance and progress using both elements of analytics. This enables the use of the combined strength of the machine to diagnose, assess, and provide data on learning, and human instructor to implement insights from that data to coach the students in order to improve their learning outcomes and to reinforce learning. Explorers were implemented for the undergraduate object-oriented programming course in the September 2020 semester at Open University Malaysia. A survey was conducted at the end of the semester in order to obtain the learner's perception after going through these Explorers. In addition, students from the same cohort also were asked to take a pretest prior to engaging with the Explorers. Immediately after completing the pretest, the students can access the Explorer and to complete the post-test. The results of survey is shown on the slide. The survey has 5 items with Likert scale from 1 strongly disagree to 5 strongly agree. The figure on the slide shows the mean scores of all the items covered in the survey. As you could see on the figure, the learners gave good responses for each of the items. The result of the average pre-test and post-test scores are shown on the slide. The results show that the students' post-test mean score was significantly higher than the pre-test mean score. The learners' engagement with explorers had led to the good understanding of the concept covered by these explorers. In this presentation, I have introduced a new form of technology-enhanced learning via the explorer-based adaptive learning system by making use the power of student interface interactions and artificial intelligence. The results show that adaptive learning systems such as Explorers that supports both students' cognitive and emotion can be an effective online learning tool for the learners. Explorers provide a personalized and adaptive learning system in a more explorative, interactive, immediate, and engaging manner, which can provide a positive cognitive and affective impact on the learners. Thank you. Hope you have enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Subrahmanyam. Very interesting and yes, very interesting and innovative work, I think. So we have 5 minutes for questions and answers. Can I ask if my colleague, Professor Youssef, has a question?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, mainly it's very interesting topics and hope that your methodology, your approach can be used in teaching and in university and follow the problems of the students. So mainly I would like to ask about using machine learning and the expert system. You have used rule-based expert system mechanism to provide the diagnostics analytics. At the same time,
Yes.
Nearest neighborhood and machine learning algorithm for predicting analysis. So first I would like to ask, type of data was used for your model in expert system and in machine learning algorithm KN? What type of recommendation the system add to the life learning cycle for the student? Is my question clear?
Not so clear. The line is breaking, Prof. Can you repeat?
Yeah, mainly you have used rule-based expert system and KNN, in your
yes, correct.
adaptive, okay? So I would like to ask about what type of data was used. What type of data you used for your system, okay? How you measure the effectiveness of your recommendation of your system for the student.
Okay. The data. Okay. Thanks,
Yeah,
Doctor, for the
please.
question.
Thank you.
Okay. The type of data that we use in this machine learning, there are two basically. One is sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis, we use a text-based text analysis, and we push it to Google Cloud Machine Suite in order to do the analysis, and Google will provide the output, which will come input to this Explorer. For the analytics, for this what you call for diagnostic, we use a rule-based system. Basically, we use Java system shell, which will try to what you call to see the what you call students' performance in that assessment questions. Because each Explorer has its own question page. As I mentioned, they have basic questions, additional questions, so on. So we'll analyze all these questions and will provide a kind of feedback to the instructor. For example, if the students is performing in the prerequisite, sorry, not performing, but somehow they are performing in the subsequent Explorer. So all this will be indicated to the instructor. For the predictive, this predictive will tell the student, will tell the instructor whether this particular student is high risk students. Okay, it means most probably the student will fail the subject. This is done by looking at their all their quiz, what you call quiz marks that they have attempted in this Explorer, and we have compared with students' exam marks, okay, for the previous semesters. So the learning took place there, and then we use the same thing. It was trained earlier, and then when the students are here in this Explorer for this new cohort, so it will try to based on data they've been trained earlier, so it will give a kind of recommendation to the instructor that this student is high risk, another student, for example, student B is not high risk. So basically, these are the approach that we have adopted for machine learning. And all the data are from the Moodle data, and we have built the plugin in order to retrieve the data. Basically, it's from the quiz attempts by the students.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Subramanian.
Thank you.
I don't think we have time for further questions, so I will end this session here, and thank you once again for your very interesting presentation. Thank you. We now move to paper 174 from OU Sri Lanka.
I'm Jaini Hapagoda, and I'm going to present a study on learner perceptions on mode of delivery of mathematical courses, the case of Sri Lankan open and distance learners in management studies. The research team of this study includes myself, Aruni Fernando, and Shalita Mahakumbara from Department of Organizational Studies, the Open University of Sri Lanka. Throughout the presentation, I would like to focus on these areas: introduction, research objectives, literature review, methodology, data analysis, and conclusions. Introduction. Parallel to the enhancement in diversity in many different aspects of life, Pathways to Education also claims to be diversified, growing, open, as well as free with the increased usage of technology. The new technologies which have been used in distance education by the Open University of Sri Lanka have widened the opportunities for the learners in management studies, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, by shifting the modes of course delivery to online platforms. The nature of mathematical courses are different than the other courses in management programs. Hence, more complexities have arisen when delivering the courses, and this has also been proven with the significant findings of the preliminary study. On the other hand, due to the special and unique nature of the open and distance learning setting, administrators in ODL are required to get feedback from learners in terms of the effectiveness of their distance learning experience. Such continuous studies have paved the way to evaluate and improve the quality of the course delivery. However, hardly any previous study could be found to have been done, especially in the Sri Lankan higher education context, relating to the delivery of mathematical courses online in a management studies program. Under that, the research objectives, the main objective of this study is to evaluate the perceptions of Sri Lankan open and distance learners in management studies on mode of delivery of mathematical courses. Secondary objectives include to identify the learner's preferred mode of delivery for mathematical courses in ODL setting, to assess the association between preferred mode of delivery and the variables such as age, gender, employment status, medium of study, level of study, and attendance for online lecture sessions. To analyze the behavior of learners in ODL in terms of lecture attendance and tools used to attend lectures. And finally, to evaluate the learner perceived quality of online lecture sessions. The literature review of this study was carried out in these three aspects: open and distance learning, mode of delivery of courses, and mathematics subject for learners in management studies. Under open and distance learning, distance education is a planned learning experience or a method of instruction which is characterized by constant separation of instructor and the learner. Unique characteristics of adult learners who compose the largest audience of ODL cause unique challenges for them, unlike for traditional learners. These challenges vary mainly depending on the gender, age, knowledge, and skills of the learners as well as the context where they study. Under mode of delivery of courses, several modes of delivery in the ODL setting include printed media, audio-based, televisual, computer-based multimedia, web-based, and mobile-based. With the tremendous advancement of technology, other than the traditional teaching methods, online teaching methods are also used, and now blended learning is widely used in the ODL setting. Within the ODL setting, learners have no more reason to attend regular face-to-face teaching sessions. And a mathematics subject for learners in management studies. Blended learning would facilitate very proactive learning and interactivity in between learners and the mediator in the learning environment for a subject like mathematics. The usage of blended learning helps in diversifying the instructional delivery in mathematical courses, as blended learning is a combination of conventional face-to-face learning, online, and web-based technologies. Generally, the open and distance learners in management studies appear to be from a commerce background, which lacks the knowledge and competencies in mathematics. As a result, such learners encounter certain problems in learning mathematics in their study programs. This is the methodology of this study. The study uses a quantitative approach, and the sampling unit is the Sri Lankan open and distance learners in management studies. A self-administered questionnaire based on the literature and the student feedback forms developed by the Quality Assurance Cell, the Open University of Sri Lanka, was used in the study. And the sample includes 101 management learners drawn using stratified sampling method based on the 4 levels of study according to the Sri Lanka qualification framework. So the sample percentages are level 2 15.8%, level 3 45.5%, level 5 27.7%, and level 6 10.9%. And data were collected during August to November 2020 using a Google form and were analyzed using IBM SPSS version 23. And these are the 6 hypotheses tested in this study. These assess the associations between preferred mode of delivery of the courses with different variables. And these different variables include age of the learner, gender of the learner, medium of study, employment status, number of online sessions participated by the learner, and the level of study of the learner. And this is the sample profile of the respondents. 46.5% of the respondents are below 25 years of age, and majority of the respondents are female, which accounts for 68.3%, and majority of the respondents are employed, which accounts for 63.4%, and more than half of the respondents have studied their program in English medium, and the level of study of the respondents are explained as in previous slide. And this is the analysis of preferred mode of delivery. Accordingly, 32% of the respondents prefer fully online mode, while 23% of the respondents prefer partially online mode. Therefore, full and partial online learning is well accepted by majority of the learners. Though there are 23% of the respondents who prefer conventional type of mode of delivery through lectures conducted as face-to-face sessions. And these are the results of hypothesis testing. For the 6 hypotheses tested, the p-values obtained are more than 0.5, and therefore these hypotheses are not supported, which means that there is enough evidence to accept that the preferred mode of delivery is not affected by the variables considered in the study. Therefore, full and partial online learning is well accepted by majority of the learners despite their demographic variations. And this is the analysis of quality of online lectures. And this was developed based on the student feedback forms, Quality Assurance Cell, the Open University of Sri Lanka. And the overall quality recorded has a mean value of 3.81 with a standard deviation 0.729, which implies that overall quality is above average. And this is the analysis of reasons for the poor attendance for online lectures. Accordingly, the most common item is the inconvenient times. Second one is the other reasons such as work commitments and weather conditions. Third one is the personal commitments. Fourth one, poor or no facilities such as internet connection to attend the sessions. And fifth one, because it is optional to attend lectures. And finally, did not feel the need to attend. However, to address different reasons for poor attendance in online lectures, the researchers consider sharing the recordings of the lectures as a best practice. And this is the analysis of the tools, devices, or connections used to join the online lectures. Accordingly, majority of the respondents use mobile phones, and majority of them are using mobile data, which accounts for 55% and 57% respectively. Based on the analysis, the conclusions of the study, full and partial online learning is well accepted by majority of the learners despite their demographic variations. The perceived quality of the online lectures was above average. Hence, further improvements in the quality of teaching and learning under full and partial online mode is needed. And finally, the recommendations of the study include a paradigm shift from open and distance learning to online distance learning is required, and hence, educators should equip themselves with adequate knowledge and training as learners are already in the process of adapting themselves for the forthcoming online distance learning era. Since most of the open and distance learners are from the generations of Y, Z, and Alpha, researchers propose to integrate social media into online learning, as also proposed by the respondents of this study. And the results of the current study will serve as a basis for making a recommendation to the university management and policymakers at large to examine the viability of incorporating and stabilizing online learning in the Sri Lankan education system in post-pandemic age. And these are some of the references we have used. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You're engaging with a challenge of the digital transition, which has challenged so many of us around the world at different times over the last 25 years or more. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, let me see if my colleague, Professor Youssef, has a question.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Mainly, I have some general comments relating to online lecturing, and we know that such a teaching or learning have a problem with attendance of the students. So, to what degree sharing the recording of the educational material will help in solving this problem? This one question. The other, I would like to ask you used or your study is about mathematical courses. Can you give me the name of the course you used in your research?
Yeah, so Professor, hope you can hear me. Regarding the first question, okay, I will first answer your second question. This course is the quantitative techniques for management. There are 4 courses actually based on the quantitative techniques for the management programs. So we take students that represent all 4. So that is how we took the level of study, because we wanted to ensure that this concept is accepted by or whether this concept is accepted by all of these learners. And then regarding the attendance, so we anyway propose that sharing the recording is a good practice in order to overcome the weaknesses of not attending. And so we shared this through YouTube, and so we can see the number of views and the number of comments for this. So then we can see, even though the students are not attending the live lectures, they are seeing these recordings and they are engaging in the learning process. Hope I answered your question, Professor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's thanks.
Thank you very much indeed. In the interests of time management, I'm going to leave the questions now because we started late, I'm afraid, due to a variety of factors. So let me thank my colleagues from OU Sri Lanka with that very interesting presentation, very relevant to our challenges of today. And come, if I may, to the, thank you. Come, if I may, to the last paper, which is number 181, also from Open University of Sri Lanka.
Ayubowan. I'm Ishara Lakmali, attached to the Department of Marketing Management, Faculty of Management Studies, the Open University of Sri Lanka. I'm presenting the research paper titled Effectiveness of Customer Social Participation for Academic Purposes, a Case of Informal WhatsApp Groups, co-authored by Professor Suranga Silva and Professor Nalina Besekara. Moving on the presentation, this is the outline of the presentation. Then moving to the introduction to the study, here you can see the statistics of mobile phone penetration, internet and the social media penetration in the world as well as in Sri Lanka. Our main focus is WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is the 3rd largest social media platform owned by the Facebook, and it is the smartphone application operates in most of the currently available devices and operating systems. In relation to Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka was the second most downloaded country of WhatsApp during the period of January 2021. Then the problem statement of the study. This study addresses the effectiveness of customer social participation in informal WhatsApp groups created by the learners for academic purposes. So here you can see 3 research questions we have formulated. Then moving to the literature review. So far I didn't discuss about customer social participation. Customer social participation is an extension of customer participation, and in simply it is customer participation in social media, mostly investigated in online brand communities. And the model or the theory we have used here is taken from the online travel communities and which was developed by Wang Yu and Fesemeyer in 2002. They identify perceived participation benefits, functional, social, psychological, and hedonic were antecedents for the customer social participation, and customer social participation can be measured via frequency of analysis and the level of contribution. Then the studies relating to the distance learnings and the application of WhatsApp in there shows age and the study level was significant. This is the conceptual framework of the study. You can see we have formulated 5 hypotheses. First design. It is single cross-sectional survey design and data collected using online structured questionnaire. The population was the undergraduates in Bachelor of Management Studies degree program in the academic year of 2019-2020. Sample was 170, which is 42.5% out from the planned sample. We have used convenient sampling technique since the population is unknown. Then operationalization, we have used the instrument developed by Wang Yu and Fesemeyer 2002, and the respondents were given to rank all the items on a scale of 7 point. Moving to the data analysis, our sample profile shows 3 characteristics: age, gender, and level of study. Most of the participants in this study were in the age category between 24 to 29, and majority were the females, and most of the respondents were studying in level 5. Then move it to the normality test. Here you can see the results of skewness and kurtosis analysis. Then they were in the range between -2 to +2. Validity and the reliability. In here you can see sampling adequacy, then construct reliability using Contrast alpha, conversion validity and discriminant validity were performed, and down you can see the threshold points for each tool. So we could conclude that validity and the reliability were ensured by this instrument. Objective 1. In here we have performed one sample t-test with the test value of 4.5 and all the variables were significant. So we could conclude the existing level of perceived participation benefits of WhatsApp group for academic purposes also high, as well as the existing level of customer participation in WhatsApp group for academic purposes also high. Then measuring the level of customer social participation. Here we have divided the customer social participation into 3 groups as low, moderate and high, and we have performed again a frequency analysis. So it shows that 45% of the respondents says their existing level of customer social participation is moderate, and 39 says their customer social participation as high, as well as 16 says their social participation is low. Then moving to the objective 2, here we have performed a multiple regression, and you can see in the table 6 strong and weak participation benefits. This shows that functional benefits, social benefits, and the hedonic benefits were significant, while psychological benefits were not significant, and it has a negative relationship. Then adjusted R square shows the level of customer social participation explained by the participation benefits were 35.3. So it is kind of low level of explanation. Objective tree. Here we have performed a discriminant analysis. Canonical correlation and the Wilks lambda values were not significant in this study. So we could conclude that the age and the level of the study were not significant on the variation of customer social participation. You can see here the summary of the findings. Implications. Here you can see some of the implications of the study, and according to Barker 2009, that is relating to the education, and according to Wang and Fessenmeyer, that is relating to the online travel communities. The similar findings were identified. The social and the hedonic benefits were significant among the communities. Then interestingly, learners of the different ages and the study levels of Bachelor of Management degree program participate to these WhatsApp groups irrespective of their age and the level of study. Then perceived benefits are not the only motivator of these kinds of WhatsApp groups, and there can be other factors like social influence, social identity, privacy issues, moods, emotional experiences, and so on. Then moderate and high level of customer social participation imply that the future requirement of addressing WhatsApp and similar technologies into the strategic practices of the open and distance learning, especially for the delivery of service. Then moving to the limitations of the study. Here you can see the sum of the limitations of the study, as this study considered only the customer social participation in WhatsApp groups. Feeling, emotions, and the behavioral aspects of the customer social participation were not accounted, and scope of the study was limited to the Bachelor of Management Studies program, and this only considered the learner-learner interaction, but the teacher and the learner informal WhatsApp groups were not investigated. In concluding the presentation, here this study shows the popularity of WhatsApp among the BMS undergraduates to pursue their academic purposes. Then this study empirically validates the model of perceived benefits and the customer social participation into the education. Then this proposed WhatsApp as a strategic tool for enhancing the learner interaction in open and distance learning setup, as well as for the delivery of service. And it is more useful the situations like we experience COVID pandemic. Then this study shows some future research directions like requirement to investigate the motivational and benefit factors for WhatsApp other than the perceived benefits. We have investigated here, identify why these psychological benefits are negative, and this can be conducted in different disciplines, different contexts like teacher learner groups and other social media platforms. Then qualitative studies can be carried out to propose a model to the distance learning education in Sri Lanka. So that's here the references. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Lakmali. Thank you very much. A most interesting presentation. May I ask my colleague, Professor Youssef, if he has a question he would like to raise with you?
Thank you very much. Really very interesting framework for model you present. I have a general question regarding WhatsApp. Do you say, can we use WhatsApp in formal education? Because I think it's used in informal education. You know that such cases or WhatsApp can enhance interactivity with the student. Really, it's very important to employ that teaching for the student. So what your comments relating to enhance the learning interactivity in formal learning at universities?
Good day to all panel members and sir. Yes, I have found one article relating to that the practice of this WhatsApp in formal education, that is Cyan in 2016. It is in Jordan. They have used this one and they are proposing this one for the final examination, to how to conduct the final examination. And most of these kind of studies has done in Ghana and the Saudi Arabian countries relating to whether this can be used for the formal education. But there are limitations of using the formal education because of this privacy issue and those things. But I have gone through some papers, like as I mentioned earlier, that they are trying to use this technique in formal education. So did I give
Yes,
kind of
yes. Okay.
elaboration, sir?
No, thank you very much. Thank you for your.
Okay.
Thank you very much. May I just ask a very quick question? Can you say a little bit more to help me understand the concept of customer social participation?
Yes, this is in simply as I explained earlier, it is customer social media participation. Customer social media participation, which is actually derived from not from the education, but it is mainly derived from the brand communities in relation to marketing, because the concept with the co-creation and the customers can participate for the delivery of the service and the smooth the service. So with that, this concept had evolved, and initially the definition raised by the Cohen Shea in 2016 relating to the fashion brand industry. And now it has been using in different services, and here I have applied it to the education service.
I understand. Thank you. That's very helpful indeed. Education as a discipline adopts interdisciplinary approaches on many occasions. So I understand why you've done that. Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Lakmali, for that very interesting presentation. We come to the end now of the presentations.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We come to the end of our presentation from our 6 Best Paper Awards. I must say, I'm sure I can speak with confidence on behalf of the panel as a whole, that this is a very impressive set of papers presented here at the Asian Association of Open Universities 2021 conference. And I think it's a credit to the reputation of AAOU that the quality of these papers are so high. So we come now to the end of this session, and the panel will submit their scores to the AAOU Secretariat, and the awards will be made in due course. I don't know the exact timescale. Perhaps somebody from AAOU Secretariat can comment on that. In the meantime, because we started late, I know we are missing a very important keynote from Dr. Asha Kanwar. So I hope we will be able to make progress and go and see that. So let me just check with the Secretariat that we have come now to the end of this session, and perhaps ask some advice as to the timescales for decisions.
Professor Alan Trade, thank you very much. Now we are going to end this session, and participants, now you can join this keynote address 2, ODL for Sustainable Development by Professor Ashant K. Kanswa. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.